It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
The Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, January 25th, 2016. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani inside our New York City studio. It is so great to be back here for another edition of the show, especially since there was a small chance, my friends, that this show wasn't going to happen this week. Very small chance, but as you may have heard, the Northeast this past Saturday going into Sunday crippled by Superstorm Jonas. Or is it Jonas? I like the Spanish version of it, so I'm going to call it Jonas. An epic storm, and sometimes people, in my opinion, misuse the word epic. Epic, in my opinion, just means really, really long. But this was an epic as in insane and epic as in long blizzard. A lot of snow. I think I got around 30 inches. And you know, the big story to me, in my opinion, forget about people losing power and all that stuff being cold. The big story to me was the UFC dodging a major bullet, because if UFC on Fox 18, which is scheduled to take place this Saturday in Newark, New Jersey, just across the river, if that was this past weekend, I have a feeling they would have had to cancel the event. There was a travel ban in place as of 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time Saturday. Would they have fought in an empty arena? Would it have been like the Sunday Night Heat episode during one of the Super Bowls like a decade ago when The Rock fought Mankind? Remember that in the empty arena? Would it have been like that? That would have been kind of cool. But a lot of dominoes would have to fall, and a lot of people would be affected. Fox, ticket buy, all that stuff. So they dodged one. It should be all okay for this Saturday. But I was thinking about that all Saturday. Wow, what would have happened if this storm was actually taking place in the hours leading up to UFC on Fox 18? Good thing for the UFC that did not happen, and I am so excited. I'm so happy that they are back in New Jersey this Saturday. No one has ever been this happy to go to Newark, New Jersey. I can assure you of that. No one's really excited to go, except for me, except for the locals, because I could just get in my car and go, and then go back home. It's amazing. No flight, no hotel. Unbelievable. I feel so spoiled. So we're going to talk about that, of course, all show long. Relatively quiet weekend in the world of mixed martial arts. The big news happened around 16 hours ago. In the midst of the AFC Championship game, Dana White just tweets out that Stipe Miocic has replaced Cain Velasquez in the main event of UFC 196. He will now be fighting Fabricio Verdum for the title. Miocic just fought 3 weeks ago, annihilated Andrei Arlovski in a matter of seconds, and now here he is fighting for the belt. He demanded it. He's getting it, and congratulations to him. Kudos to him for stepping up. Also, kudos to Fabricio Verdum for accepting the fight. Unfortunate news once again for Cain Velasquez. He continues to be hit by injury. We will get into that as the show goes on. Of course, in the second half of the show, as we take your questions and comments. Ronda Rousey was on SNL. We'll talk about that. And World Series of Fighting had a I don't know, a subpar event, I guess I call it. It's weird. It's a weird time over there, and we'll talk about that as well. They did introduce rankings, which I like, but something feels a bit off. Anyway, great show this week. I'm excited to get into it. It's a stacked lineup, so let's get right to it. At 2:45, we're going to talk to Tony Ferguson, who it was announced late last week will be fighting Michael Johnson at UFC 197 on March 5th. This is a rematch of a fight that happened several years ago. Since then, Ferguson has been in fuego, and some people were surprised by this news, so we'll talk to him about that. TJ Dillashaw stops by at 2:25 to talk about his loss to Dominic Cruz and where he goes from here. Power MMA head coach Aaron Simpson will stop by at 2:05 to preview Ryan Bader versus Anthony Johnson. That is the main event of the show this Saturday in Newark. At 1:45, Paul Daly will stop by. He headlines Bellator 148 this Friday. So looking forward to talking to Semtex, the Twitterless Semtex. I got to ask him about that. I always forget to ask him about that. 125, we'll talk to the new UFC middleweight champion, Luke Rockhold. We'll ask him about life as champion and where he goes from here. And as always, take your questions and comments at around 3:10. Also talk to New York Rick. And we got our Y'all Must Have Forgot Clip of the Week segment. Don't forget about that. That is at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Time. But first, Let us go to the phone lines and welcome in one half of the co-main event of what is, at least right now, shaping up to be the biggest card of the year, UFC 197, March 5th in Las Vegas, MGM. You saw the press conference last week. We're talking to Miesha Tate, the number one contender in the UFC's women's bantamweight division. She's on line number one. Miesha, how are you?
Hello, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the time. So this is the big question. And again, thank you for coming on. I know you're very busy. You're getting ready for the title fight, but this is the big question in my opinion. Did Miesha Tate watch Saturday Night Live on Saturday night?
No, I didn't.
You avoided it. You wanted none of it.
Yeah, it's not that I avoided it. I had better things to do, so I did those things.
Well, you know what? That makes two of us. I couldn't stay up till 11:30 Eastern time, so I didn't watch it either. But some mixed reviews. I don't know if you caught the reviews. Mixed reviews.
No, I haven't caught the reviews either. What were the reviews? What was the good and what was the bad?
I think if I can speak for everyone, I think some people thought that she didn't say much and that the skits weren't all that great. And as you know, a show like that, you know, you're at the mercy of the writers, so it's not your fault. But to me, the highlight was she did finally congratulate Holly Holm on the win 2 months later, but she did do that at the top of the show, and that didn't seem to be a skit or a joke. So I thought that was nice.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
That's good. Step in the right direction.
Yes. And by the way, Miesha, speaking of New York, I understand you just avoided the superstorm. You were in New York City. You didn't call us over here. I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't offended.
You know what, Ariel? I honestly actually kind of forgot that you're based out of New York.
Oh, it's okay.
I forget where everyone's at, but yeah, I don't know. They didn't have a schedule to come and see you at all in the PR press thing. So
what's up with that?
I might want to have words with UFC.
Yeah, I think I will. You were on the top of the Empire State Building, right, with Holly Holm?
Yes, it was.
What was that like?
It was beautiful. It was awesome. And Holly's a really cool chick. She's really easy to hang out with. So, you know, there's no drama there or anything like that. So it was a relaxing day.
Is that refreshing after Ronda and you've had some other beefs with other opponents that it seems like even when you guys were squaring off at the press conference, you're smiling at each other. There's no animosity there.
Right. It is refreshing, you know, and I think what's going to be interesting for the fans is just to see how much we can actually like each other and still beat the shit out of each other when the cage door closes. You know, there's definitely going to be no holding back. There's not going to be any like, oh, I'm going to pull my punches. You know, I mean, we're going to let the leather fly regardless. And I think, you know, that's going to be exciting. So people thinking that, oh, they like each other, it's going to be a nice fight, they're going to be too, you know, it's going to be boring. Think again. You know, I'm coming for that belt, and I don't care how much I like someone. It's not going to affect the way that I take the belt.
Does this stem from the fact that you guys did that movie a few months, like prior to that, did you not really know anything about her, and then you were on the set with her and got to like her?
Yeah, exactly. I really didn't know much about her. I had never really, I mean, I'd said like hi to her maybe at a UFC event, but didn't really get to know her. And then I got to know her and her husband at the movie. Yeah, and she was just, you know, she's kind of quiet, kept to herself, but she was really nice and never mean anybody. And her husband was hilarious and awesome. And Brian and her husband became really good friends. So
wow.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys could double date after the fight.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, we already agreed to get beers afterwards. So
all right.
Regardless of what happens, you know, we're gonna go in there. We're gonna smash face, and then we're gonna go get some beers.
And I don't know how you feel about this, but if I were you, I would kind of be thankful for Holly because it seemed like while the UFC was trying to go the rematch direction, both her and her agent Lenny Fresquez were actually, you know, they were pushing for you. They were the ones campaigning to fight this fight, to have it earlier. I feel like they kind of did you a solid here. Do you agree?
I definitely agree, and that's why I just have so much respect for Holly and, you know, that the way that they decided to go about that, because I do think that I'm a tougher matchup for her than Ronda, and that really makes me respect her as a champion, that she would be like, hey, you know, I'm willing to go the tougher route. I've already beaten Ronda. I've already shown that I can, you know, what I can do there. Let's take on the new challenge, you know, perhaps a tougher challenge, and I do believe that I am stylistically a much more challenging fight.
Why do you think that is?
I just think that the styles make fights, and I think the way that Ronda tried to stand in that fight. And then, even the way that she tried to close distance were all very ineffective. And I think that my style is just completely different. And I think that I have the more experience in there. And I just think the way that our styles match up is just going to make a more complicated fight, because she's going to have to worry about more than just me charging in recklessly, with reckless abandonment trying to clinch. I have much more tools to my game than that. I'm more patient. And I think that, maybe Ronda went in there with the mentality of, if I don't finish her under 2 minutes, I've already lost the fight. And, I'm willing to take the necessary shots when they're there, take the necessary punches when they're there, rather than like, oh, if I don't finish someone in under 60 seconds, I've already lost the fight, So I don't feel the need to be rushed in this fight. I have 25 minutes to finish this fight. And, if it takes me 24 minutes and 59 seconds, I'm still going to be in that fight.
The last time we had you on the show a few months ago, I think it's safe to say you were a little frustrated. You actually hinted that you were contemplating retirement. You wanted to sit down and talk to the UFC about the future. You were it was like a couple days away, that meeting, and a lot has changed since then, of course. Did you ever have that face-to-face with the UFC before even finding out about this fight that you were getting in and all that? Did you have that face-to-face, and if so, how did it go?
I did sit down and have a talk with the UFC, and, I was really pushing for that title fight. And at that time, they were just completely adamant that that was not an option, that they were going to do the rematch with Ronda, UFC 200, and, that I just had to take another fight and, and go about it that route. But we definitely came to some understandings, I guess, and we're able to communicate a little bit more effectively. But at the end of the day, it still really wasn't what I wanted to hear. And then it was interesting. Like a few weeks later, they were kind of like, hey, by the way, you might want to just start getting ready. We're not sure what's going to happen. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I'm just going to start my camp without having confirmation that I have this title fight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I started my camp not knowing for sure if I was going to get it, but I thought, hey, this is the big opportunity, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. And then they kind of kept me in the dark. I didn't ask a lot of questions, and then they were like, right before they announced it, they were like, okay, we're going to announce it. And I was like, okay, great.
And I'm wondering, if they would have waited till UFC 200 for this rematch and you would have been asked to fight someone else, would you have actually retired? Would you have done that rather than fight someone else for just a contender spot again?
No, I think I would have fought someone else. I think that when that happened with Ronda and the whole change-up, it just changed everything, because now I know that title shot is available to me again, and that what I was really feeling compromised about was like, hey, so is my career dependent on when Ronda retires? And like, am I never going to be able to get a title shot again, no matter how deserving of it I am? Like, is that what you're telling me? If that's so, everyone's in this sport to be number one. Everyone's in it to be a champion. No one's just playing for, the silver medal. You know what I mean? We're all in it to win it. So that's my goal also. So if you're going to tell me that that's not a possibility, then that was pretty frustrating. That's kind of where that resentment was coming from.
You were obviously very upset. Would you say the relationship is back to where it once was, or will it always change because of the disappointment of how the title shot was taken away from you?
No, I think it's back to where it was. I can be a fiery person. I'm not going to lie. When I'm passionate about something, it's like, don't mess with me, like if I have my emotions all on the line, I am a woman at the end of the day, and a scorned woman is never someone to be, pleasant to be around. And it's safe to say I was pretty scorned in that situation, but I think that destiny and fate has a way of working itself out. I believe I was meant to be the champion, and I think that's why this is happening, and I believe 2016 is my year, so let bygones be bygones. I'm also a big forgiver, so it's water under the bridge at this point.
Do you think Ronda ever fights again?
Yes, I do. I believe she'll come back and fight. I don't think that Ronda is the kind of person that wants to walk away from the legacy that she built like that. I think that she's a little bit embarrassed by it. I know she said that, and she's not happy with the way she performed. So I think she'll definitely want to get back in there and show that she can do better than that. But, we'll see what happens.
What's a bigger moneymaker fight in your opinion? Miesha Tate as champion against Ronda Rousey 3 or Holm Ronda 2?
Well, if I go out there and beat Holly Holm, which that's exactly what I intend on doing, then I think that is a huge fight in itself because everyone's like, oh, everyone thinks that I'm going to lose this fight. So I'm a big underdog. I think I opened 4-1 underdog. So if I go out there and beat the girl that crushed Ronda, I think that says a lot. And I think a lot of people are going to be like, wow, Miesha's definitely improved a ton. She was able to take out the only girl that just annihilated Ronda. That's a huge selling point. So I think they're both going to be, both potentially have big selling points.
It's interesting that you know the odds. A lot of fighters, 2 months out, don't know that. Are you bothered by that? Does that give you extra motivation? What's your reaction when you find out that you're that big of an underdog?
Oh no, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't think the odds makers are gods by any means. So I think that they've been wrong a number of times, and their job is to try to get people to spend as much money as they can. So the fact that I'm an underdog means that a lot of people are going to bet on me, and then the odds are probably going to even themselves out because they're like, oh man, a lot of people are betting on Miesha. Still a lot of people think that I'm going to win this fight. And that I don't really care at all what the odds makers say. I mean, look at what Holly Holm, a 14-1 underdog against Ronda Rousey. I mean, come on, you never know what's going to happen in MMA, and the odds makers really have no say in it all. They're just trying to get people's money.
So speaking of gods, you know who's tight with the gods? It's Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor.
Right.
Gods recognize gods.
Jesus are cool.
Right. So I got to ask you about this because you were sitting there right next to him throughout that press conference, which will go down as one of the best, at least up until this point. What is going through your mind when Conor's doing his thing, interrupting RDA, getting in? I mean, it's a show in its own right, but you're sitting there kind of laughing at some points. What did you make of it all?
It's kind of mind-blowing, honestly. I had never sat next to Conor during a press conference. I've heard his interviews and things like that, but I've never sat next to him and just listened to him really do his full gamut of mental warfare. And it was honestly pretty impressive. Like, I don't know where this guy gets it from, but I mean, he is really in his own right a genius, and it was just crazy to watch it unfold. I was kind of jaw dropping, and there was definitely times when I kind of caught myself laughing. Was like, oh my gosh, I should not be laughing at this right now, But he's really funny, and he's very witty. He's a very, very intelligent man.
It seems like all of you were on time. He was a little late. What was the vibe when you guys were standing around waiting for him, and then they just start the press conference without him?
Well, Dana seemed a little bit irritated, and everyone else seemed a little bit stressed out, kind of frantically trying to locate him or find him or figure out what's going on. And, I think that Conor wanted to do it on purpose. Again, I think it's part of his strategy to really always be the star of the show, always be, the last man, standing, the last man to get attention. So I think he had it planned a little bit. But I can't say for sure, but I wouldn't put it past him to want to make an entrance. He didn't want to just walk in like everybody else. Like, he wanted to make an entrance, and he did.
Is this a blessing in disguise for you? Because he's going to be doing a lot of media, all eyes on him. I mean, you and Holly didn't get that many questions, and if you and Holly could be a main event easy on your own for any show, but yet because he is who he is and the way he puts on a show at these press conferences, people gravitate towards him. Media, I'm if you want to say at fault for this as well. But you kind of like that you're flying under the radar a little bit?
Well, you know what? It's really nice because it definitely takes a lot of the distractions off, and he seems to handle it really well. And the really good thing about it is when I go out there and take this belt, regardless, there's going to be a lot of eyes watching because whether they want to see Conor McGregor or they want to see our fight, they're going to be watching. We're right before their fight. So, pretty much the entire world is going to see that, and I'm really excited about that. So that's the most important thing. If he's going to take on the role of taking most of the questions and most of the lead-up and most of that stress, let him have it because, when that fight comes, people are going to be watching, and that's all I care about.
Is there a lesson to be learned from your situation, even his situation to a degree? They offered you fights, you said no, you stood your ground. Now look, here you are, fighting for the belt. A few years ago, does that Miesha Tate do what you did the last couple of months? It seems like you were confident in your own, selling abilities and your own, resume, that you were saying, no, I'm not going to take this fight just to take a fight, whether it's on Fight Pass or something like that. Is there a lesson to be learned for younger fighters here, or do you have to reach a certain status in order to put your foot down the way you did?
Well, I think there is no amount of money or opportunity that should compromise who you are and how you stand up for yourself. And I truly believe that. But there's also give and take, and to be honest, the UFC is a pretty cool company to work for. And there's been a lot of times that I did do what they wanted me to do when I didn't really want to do it. To be honest, I didn't want to go to Japan and fight Rin Nakai, an unknown, undefeated girl that I had nothing to really gain from. And on Fight Pass, I didn't really want to do that, but I was like, you know what? The UFC wants me to do it. I got a long road to get back to the title. Okay, I'm going to do it. I didn't really want to fight Sarah McMahon, stylistically. I was like, it's going to be a really tough one, and I thought she wasn't very exciting for the most part. I thought, every fight that she's been in, kind of people were like, it was kind of boring. So I was like, I like to fight, people who will get in a firefight with me and make the fight exciting, like Kat Zingano or people like that really will get into the nitty-gritty. But I thought, this is one that's not going to probably draw a lot of attention. I don't know, but she's really dangerous. I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to beat this girl. I'm going to sign on the dotted line, and I did. So there's been a lot of things that I've done. I feel like for the company, I've always been a company woman. And anything they've asked me to do, they say jump, I say how high. But in that situation, it was like, hey, you know what? You guys, really kind of screwed me over here, so I feel like I have some room to push and shove, and I'm not going to back down in this particular situation because I felt like it compromised who I was.
Deep down, I thought you handled it very well, but were you kind of freaking out? Like, you're at the crossroads of your career. You don't know if you're ever going to get a title shot. That's what you're fighting for. I thought publicly you handled it well, but were you, you're a young woman, and you've got so much ahead of you. You're in the prime of your life, prime of your career. How are you handling it all internally?
Yeah, I was freaking out. I put everything into this sport, and I love the sport wholeheartedly, and it was pretty heartbreaking to think that, those opportunities and those dreams that I've been working so hard for may not be a possibility of no control of my own. And that was really hard for me to stomach. So, yeah, there was times when I would cry myself to sleep. There was times when I would be just so frustrated or, it just a lot of emotions, a huge roller coaster of emotions like 2015 was. But I think those kinds of situations, when push comes to shove and you don't give in and you don't break, it's like iron sharpening iron. Those kinds of situations make you stronger if you don't give into it, and I definitely feel like I walked away with a whole new appreciation for the sport, for the opportunity that I'm presented now, getting this title shot and the turn of events. Like I said, I think things unfolded the way that they were meant to be, and I think this has set itself up perfectly for me to be the champion in 2016.
I know there was a brief clip out there, but did you completely freak out? Not because, Ronda lost when she did, but in the back of your mind, were you thinking right away, this could be my chance, this could be my opening? She, maybe they'll go to me now, maybe she's too hurt. Like, was that what you were thinking that night when she got knocked out?
Oh, I thought for sure that it was going to be my chance. Like, I had no doubt. I was like, oh, man, she got knocked out, brutally, and she's definitely not going to be able to spar, and she's not going to be able to come back so quickly, and had a feeling that Holly would want to stay busy. She's always said that about her career. She likes to fight a lot. So I thought, hey, I'm right here. I'll be ready as soon as Holly's ready to go again. Ronda will not be ready as soon as I will be ready. And that turned out to be true. I knew she had 2 movies to film also, and then, not so long after that, she was saying, hey, I'm not even going to be able to bite into an apple for 6 months. And I was like, well, then how can they expect her to fight in 7? That's not even fair to Ronda to ask her to do that when she wouldn't even be able to spar. If you can't bite into an apple, you're not going to be sparring. So there's no way she could prepare to fight someone who just brutalized her physically, and I'm sure mentally that was a big challenge for Ronda. So I thought, why not me?
2 last quick things. By the way, do you have any idea what happened to Rin Nakai? We haven't seen her since your loss, so she completely fell off the face of the earth, at least in the MMA world.
Yeah, I think I heard that unfortunately in training not too long after that she blew out her knee.
Oh.
And that she may not be fighting ever again. So
oh, wow.
That's very unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. And I know that Las Vegas is home. Are you doing anything different in training, bringing anyone new in to replicate Holly's style? A lot of people would say she's one of the best strikers in MMA, period, men or women. How are you going to, plan for all of that?
Well, fortunately, I have a lot of southpaws at my gym that are really great strikers, a lot of men that are pretty amazing partners. But, I've also been thinking about bringing in maybe possibly Amanda Serrano. She's a multiple boxing world champion, and she's got very quick hands, very quick feet. And just for understanding distance and range and things like that, I think it might be important to bring in another female that I know is at the top level in the boxing world and is going to be able to present those kinds of challenges. Also been talking to Miriam Nakamoto a little bit. She may be a possibility. I know she's not a southpaw, but she's a really amazing striker and still understanding the range. You know, that's something that I'm very focused on, is really understanding. You know, I know that's what Holly is a master at. She's a master at deciding what range she wants you at, and I want to be a master at deciding what range I want her at.
How do you become champion? Is it in your mind already? Have you seen it? Have you envisioned it?
Oh, I'm already the champion in my mind. I've already won the belt. So when I saw her carrying that belt around, all I was thinking in my mind is like, keep it warm for me. Because I already believe that I'm a champion, and I know that this fight is going to go my way. I've already seen it and envisioned it 1,000 times over. So, it's already a done deal in my mind. I just have, a little bit more preparation to do, and then I just have to prove it to the rest of the world.
Well, it is well-deserved. I'm happy you got what you wanted. Happy you got that title shot, March 5th, UFC 197. Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate. Good luck to you, Miesha. I really appreciate the time, and cannot wait for it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right, there she is, Miesha Tate, number one contender in the UFC's women's bantamweight division, fighting Holly Holm. It's a fresh matchup. It's interesting. All of a sudden, we thought we were going to get all these immediate rematches. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to get Kane and Verdum anytime soon. Well, that's a fact. We're getting Miocic and Verdum, and we thought for a second that we were going to get Holly versus Ronda too, and that's not happening right away, at least. We're getting Holly versus Miesha. There's nothing wrong with some freshness, switching things up, getting some new faces in there, some new rivalries, some new matchups.